Good evening and welcome to Life's Tales on GHOneTV. I am Bliss Frimpong. You can call me Blessing, and I'm sitting in for your usual host, Lily Mohammed. Life's Tales is proudly brought to you by PEC and CompuGhana, passion for technology. Now, with 417 suicide-related deaths recorded across the country in the first 2 quarters of the year 2021, according to the Mental Health Unit of the Ghana Health Service, and with majority of these victims being the youth, it is quite imperative that we talk about the societal canker of suicide. Have you considered taking your life? I am very sorry you had to get to that point, but what triggered the whole decision or consideration of doing that? If you are considering suicide, it might be that the pain or the problem you're facing is far overwhelming or even permanent, but there is always a way around suicidal thoughts. And tonight on Life Tales, I and my guests and I will be looking at suicidal thoughts and the triggers, the escape routes, and then the remedies for suicidal thoughts right here on Life's Tales. But before we do that, somebody has written to us, a viewer has given us her share of experience of what we're talking about. We'll be right back. Take a listen.
I'm in tears while putting together this letter. I feel like life is no longer worth living because of a series of things that have happened in my life as a young 22-year-old. This is not something I want to share with anyone because it's quite embarrassing for me and I know I'll be judged. I grew up without my father because I lost him when I was about 5 months, according to my mother. My mom tried to give me all the love and care I needed. However, about 8 months ago, I also lost my mom in a car accident. It was so sad to take in and it's been hard since. Tills, that was the first time I tried to take my life. I didn't even bother writing a note because I felt there was no one to live for or inform. I tried self-poisoning. Unfortunately for me, I was stopped by my roommates who walked in while I tried to take my life. I've been living with my uncle and his wife. However, it's never been the same living with them as it was with my younger brother and my mom. I don't feel cared for, so I have found a lot of comfort with my school and my boyfriend. Tills, there's a problem I realized just a week ago, that I'm pregnant, and my boyfriend, who is also in his final year, has told me he's not ready to be a father. Tills, I can't even tell my guardians because I don't know how to deal with it. I'm also thinking of my academics, and I just feel like a lot of things are going on with me and I just want to end it all because I sincerely don't know what to do. Please help me. I'm in tears while putting together this letter. I feel like life is no longer worth living because of a series of things that have happened in my life. A young 22-year-old. This is not something I want to share with anyone because it's quite embarrassing for me and I know I'll be judged. I grew up without my father because I lost him when I was about 5 months, according to my mother. My mom tried to give me all the love and care I needed. However, about 8 months ago, I also lost my mom in a car accident. It was so sad to take in and it's been hard since. Tills, that was the first time I tried to take my life. I didn't even bother writing a note because I felt there was no one to live for or inform. I tried self-poisoning. Unfortunately for me, I was stopped by my roommates who walked in while I tried to take my life. I've been living with my uncle and his wife. However, it's never been the same living with them as it was with my younger brother and my mom. I don't feel cared for, so I have found a lot of comfort with my school and my boyfriend. Tills, there's a problem I realized just a week ago, that I'm pregnant, and my boyfriend, who is also in his final year, has told me he's not ready to be a father. Tills, I can't even tell my guardians because I don't know how to deal with it. I'm also thinking of my academics, and I just feel like a lot of things are going on with me and I just want to end it all because I sincerely don't know what to do. Please help me.
Well, you just had such an experience, and definitely we are going to talk about this and probably recommend what can be done. Obviously, we're going to recommend what can be done about the situation, and I'll have some persons who have joined me in the studio to help me talk about this issue. Gloria Boatima Ando is a suicide prevention activist and CEO of Winglow Family International. Gloria, you're welcome. And I also have Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur, medical doctor and clinical health psychologist. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And joining us via Zoom also is lawyer Yao Dankwa. He's a criminal lawyer and lecturer. And don't forget that Life's Tales is proudly brought to you by Peck Biscuits. Peck is back again, bringing you the best, as they always do. Your favorite Peck Biscuits has been made more milky, more tasty, with 2 extra biscuits in every pack you buy. For all your great moments, Peck has got you covered. Get your 16% extra promo lock in any shop near you for your perky moment. First of all, what do you make of the letter we have received, Gloria?
Well, I believe that what our sister is going through is actually not easy. Having everything, happen at once, which sometimes puts you in a state of confusion as in what to do and what not to do. But I believe it as well. So what I suggest that I think she has to talk to somebody. She needs to talk to somebody, either the guardian or somebody that she trusts, so that they can help each other in terms of counseling, in terms of giving hope, because at this moment she's confused. Yeah. So she needs to talk to someone.
Right. Doc, before we come to you, lawyer Yao Dankwa has joined us via Zoom. Lawyer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you also hear me?
Yes, I can hear you crystal clear. I'll come to you shortly and we'll discuss the legal aspect of this, but I would speak to Doc right here, and then after that I'll come to you so we talk about the legal aspect.
Very well.
Right, so Doc, what do you make of the letter?
Well, she represents, I think her situation is a classic kind of situations that makes people think about wanting to commit suicide. If you look at it carefully, you realize that he's had some challenges with parenting.
Yeah.
Father wasn't there. Mother support system. Now the mother is gone. And usually when people have some need in their lives because of some of those events, they use certain things to cope.
Yeah.
Right, with life situations. So they may use friends, they may use drugs, they may use crime. They may use, some form of addictions, gambling and betting. They may use alcohol. They may use, smoking, drugs, to be able to want to cope with life situations. And most of the time, you may find the gentlemen, the guys, using substances to cope, addictive related, things to cope. Women are likely to use relationships.
Right. Yeah.
So this lady actually was using the boyfriend as a coping strategy. The boyfriend actually may not even have thought about, anything about the girl and the fact that they even have a long-term kind of, commitment. No. So the girl in her mind, found a father figure or a male figure in the gentleman, and all the care and support. So the lady may have been getting some kind of care support, that gap that is in her life. The guy seemed to have been filling that gap, and unfortunately when a man and a woman meet, the temptation to do things is there. So the sex-related stuff may not even have been part of her plans.
Yeah. Okay.
It may not have been there.
Right.
Usually is those who are really naive, they are the ones who get pregnant. Those who are not naive, they hardly get pregnant because they know all the tricks.
Right.
They know all the tricks. So you have this naive girl who is going through so much, using a relationship to cope and adjust with situations. now she finds herself in a situation she didn't plan for. So overwhelmed by all those things, coupled with all the, if you look through the letters, you realize there are a lot of, negative way of thinking in there. What will I do? Nobody will do this. Nobody will do that. It's not true that nobody. So there are a lot of we call that situation cognitive distortions. Right. Cognitively appraising things in a way that is not a reflection of what is true.
Okay.
Not rational about things. So for example, you fail an exam and you tell yourself, I will never make it in life. It's not true. I failed the exam several times and I'm making it.
Right.
So to think that I'm failing an exams and I will not make it, that is a cognitive distortion. My father is dead, I won't survive in life. It's not true. So if you look into the letter, you realize there are various points of cognitive distortions in there.
Yeah. Right.
And usually it is those negative appraisal of events that triggers negative emotional responses, and that will lead to all kinds of things when it relates to suicide.
Okay. Gloria, let's look at suicidal thoughts in the first place. What is it? I think Doc has given us the cognitive, cues that lead to these things. What at all is suicidal thoughts?
Well, like Doc said, there's a point in your life where lots of things happen and you're like, that's it. At that point, you don't even think about who even loves you. At that point, you're thinking that you're alone. At that point, you're thinking that if you take your life, just like the lady is saying, who will actually be affected and all that. So as circumstances actually make people do that. I'll use myself as an example here. I lost my dad, and at a point, I'm like, I was very close to my dad. So I was like, what's the point of living? Okay.
Right.
So at that point, you don't even think of who else, your parents are there, your siblings are there. You don't even think of who else is there. Like, you just go blank and you just focus on the fact that you want to leave. And that's it, because nobody actually cares about you.
Right.
But it's not true. Like Doug was saying, it's not true. People do care about you if you share.
Okay.
You understand? So circumstances, it can be exams failure, it can be loss of a friend, family member, it can be, financial issues, failure in school, a whole relationship problems, a whole lot of things that makes one want to give up in life or, have suicidal thoughts.
Right. Now, let's speak to Lawyer Danko concerning this. Lawyer, what is the legal definition of suicide?
Basically, anybody who attempts to take their own life amounts to suicidal. And so the law, as defined in Section 57 of the Criminal Act 29, Criminal Procedure Code, it says, whoever abets the commission of suicide by any person shall, whether or not the suicide be actually committed, be guilty of first-degree felony. And subsection 2 says, whoever attempts to commit suicide shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. So anything that you do in an attempt to end your life amounts to suicide.
Right. Now, in your definition, the law actually criminalizes this act. Why is it so?
We should all remember that whether we like it or not, we are all subjects of this nation. And so we are subjects of the Constitution. And so you don't own your life, so to speak, though the Constitution guarantees your freedom of movement, speech, right to do things. That right is not absolute. That right is actually restricted and limited to you taking your life. So you can do anything and everything which the Constitution supports and guarantees. But the Constitution does not support and guarantee you taking your own life. And since we are subjects of the Republic, we don't own ourselves. And so to speak, we are subjects of the Republic. So you cannot take your own life. That is why when anyone commits a crime, the crime is not committed against the person, either if it's a burglary or stealing or anything. that crime is not committed against the person you've stolen from, but the crime is committed against the state because you are a subject of the state. And so it is wrong to take your life, and the Constitution does not guarantee that. And anything that the Constitution does not guarantee is, it's not lawful for us to do.
Right. Lawyer Dankwa, I'll come to you, but let's stay on the criminalization of suicide. There's been calls for it to decriminalize it because they see it to be as a mental issue, more of not really a criminal issue. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that when someone decides to take his life, what the person actually means is he needs care,
right,
support, hope. The person is actually not the act that he or she wants to actually do. So at this point where somebody is, let's say somebody has lost somebody very close to her, and then at that point she thinks there's no point to live, and then I want to take my life, and you want to criminalize me for that. I mean, I need some counsel. I need some talk of hope, some love, some care. Do you understand? So we've been pushing for this agenda as in to make sure that the government actually looks at it again, because that is not what the person actually wants to do. Right. All the person needs is to feel hope, to feel love, and to feel cared for. By it can be through counseling. Somebody would just want you to say, Charlie, you'll be fine, and then the person is okay. Some would also want to go through procedure by seeing the psychologist who would psych the mind of the person. So I think that criminalization of suicide is something that the government needs to also look at. Even though we're trying to make sure that nobody actually tends to be taking their life. I think that we should look at it and rather help those who actually try to do that by providing a lot of psychologists around people. I mean, talks like this that you're having to help people, because a lot of people are going through personal problems that they can't just walk to the parliament or walk to the president to say that this is what I'm going through. Do you understand? Okay.
Doc, do you see it's more of a mental issue than a criminal issue?
Well, I think the whole issue about criminalization of attempted suicide, I think it's more of, our understanding of mental illnesses is better now. Okay. So based on that understanding, decriminalizing is the way forward. Because attempting to kill yourself, we see it as a psychological emergency. It's an emergency.
Okay.
See, the same way heart attack is a medical emergency. So if someone who is having a heart attack, you will send the person to prison. Why send someone who has another form of emergency to prison? It's just like someone, so you're having a heart attack, I will imprison you. It just doesn't make sense. Because health is four-dimensional: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. This is the definition of what health is. So majority of the people who would even want to attempt suicide, they have an underlying mental health condition that needs some kind of care.
Right.
So majority of them actually have depression. Some may be products of bipolar, some schizophrenia, substance use, alcohol, abuse, some stress, anxiety. So if you go into people's lives, those who want to commit suicide, you would almost all the time find some mental health issue hiding somewhere, which probably the person has been trying to deal with. Because, generally people don't want to die. People really don't want to die. And that is why most of the time, people do not use a more effective ways of ending their lives.
Okay.
So especially when it comes to women, realize that suicide is higher in men. Men die more from suicide.
Right.
But women attempt more.
Okay.
Men really don't seek help, and again, men use a more effective ways of ending their lives. Women don't. So you realize that the whole concept is about someone who needs help, like she said. And when you look carefully, you realize that if you go somewhere, you find some kind of a mental health issue there. So that is the current understanding of suicide-related problems. Right. Most of the countries who had criminalization of attempted suicide in their laws, it's all gone. Most of the countries where UK and those places where we actually, copy a lot of things from, they are changing their ways. And thankfully, Ghana too is changing actually. Because now there are a lot of people who are in that situation, and they allow them to actually seek help.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So, Lawyer Dankwa, if you can hear me, there's been calls to decriminalize suicide on the back of the argument that it is more of a mental issue and these people should rather be provided with the counseling and the attention they need. What do you make of that?
Well, I appreciate that those who are going through mental illness and depression and those who are traumatized needs help, and we should have facilities in place to cater for those people. But I am very, a bit worried and concerned about the loose use of decriminalization of suicide, because as a lawyer, I see it from a very different perspective. Now, if we are going to decriminalize it, are we saying that it is okay to attempt suicide because you have a problem? I think it's a wording of it that I'm struggling with. But I think if we are dealing with mental illness or those who mentally need help because they have been bereaved or traumatized or they've gone through some trauma, then I accept that. But to say that we need to decriminalize suicide, that is something I find extremely dangerous as a nation if we go along those lines. Now, who makes that call? Who makes the call to determine which behavior warrants suicidal thoughts, right? And what are the criteria that will give rise to a person saying that that person is in a state of suicidal? And this is something that will be opening a Pandora box, and a whole lot of things can happen if we go along those lines. I think we should really look at our mental the mental health support system that we have in this country, and how do we revamp it, and how do we make it accessible to people, taking away the stigma that that people tend to associate with it. I mean, when you tell people to go and see a psychologist because of what they are going through, all of a sudden you become, they'll stigmatize you, and people think you are crazy and this and that. So people don't want to go out for help when they, and they suffer in silence. I think there should be more education to let people know that there comes a time when you can go through such a situation. I, for one, when I lost my mother, I became depressed, and I had to seek help, to deal with that loss, right? And I'm glad that I was able to get that support and be able to, recover from it, and I'm living a normal life. But to say that we should accept people who wanted to commit suicide as those who need help, for me, as a lawyer, I have a problem with that. But to say that people who are suffering from mental illness or some trauma or things like that needs help, and we should have facilities available for them to go and get help, counseling, and all sort of family support and all social support and everything else, I am for it. And it's the wording that troubles me.
Right. Now, so in your view, the criminalization of suicide is actually a deterrent?
I think it's deterrent. And you know something? Now, in my view, nobody takes their life alone. They get help either by default, intentionally, subconsciously. At some point before that person ends their life, they get help from somewhere. Go and buy me a medication, right? The person doesn't know what is it for. And let me buy this, let me buy that, right? All those things there are people who contribute to those who attempt to take their lives. And the law is so harsh on those who actually help and facilitates these people attempting to commit suicide. To help somebody to commit suicide, whether they succeed or not, is a first-degree felony. But the person who is actually attempting a suicide himself is a misdemeanor, and the punishment is less. So I think we really need a support system, and there should be more education, and we should encourage people to open up and speak out, and we should have trained people trained counselors, to be able to help. That's what we need in the system. We don't need decriminalization. We need more support for the community.
All right. Thank you very much, Lawyer Dankwa. Lawyer Dankwa is a lawyer, criminal lawyer, and a lecturer. Thank you for joining us via Zoom. And that's his take on decriminalizing suicide and suicidal thoughts. But, Gloria, you mentioned that you've had such thoughts before. What exactly triggered this whole thing?
All right. So, what triggered? The trigger was I lost a very close, my dad. I was very close to my dad, so that was the trigger. And at the point, I'm like, that's a person who is always listening to me. This is a person who is always there for me, who is actually going to be there for me, okay? So at that point, I didn't go for help. If I tried taking my life, nobody knew about it. So if I want to actually talk about the fact that lawyer was saying that when somebody is suicidal, the person, it has to be with someone, or maybe go so I come to Dr. Newman and go like, please, do you have anything that I can use to commit suicide? No, that's not what you're blank. You are there yourself. Whatever you want to do to make sure that you're gone, you're gone. You don't talk about it. Imagine that you're going to criminalize me for attempted suicide or committing suicide. And I come to you, doc, please, I want to commit suicide. No, I wouldn't want to talk.
Yeah.
Okay, so the person at the point of committing suicide or contemplating suicide, do not talk to anybody. There's a personal decision I've taken that my dad is no more. Nobody will be there for me, just like the way my dad used to. So I want to end it. So whatever I find that will help me end it, will help me end it. So I don't go talking to anyone. So when somebody is suicidal, it is the fact that the person is blank and is focused on this is what I want to do and this is how I just want to live. And at that point, if he gets somebody to come in to console and comfort or give the person hope for the future, one, building the mental fortitude of the individual is very important, because no matter what you do, we'll go through hard times in life. You go to school, we write exams, we fail, we still write and we still fail. A lot of things happen. Let's say you're going home, you have potholes on your road. Will you say you're coming back to work and you will not go home? You will definitely find a way to maneuver and then get to your house. So we need to build the mental fortitude of the individual, the youth. That is what we need as a country. One, more education, making it comfortable for everyone to actually walk to a psychologist to say that this is what is wrong with me. And the stigma of saying that when you go to a psychologist, it means that you are going crazy and all that. We need to educate the youth more, because if it becomes like, if you come and tell me you are suicidal, you're going to be,
arrested or...
Not that one there. And I have been a victim, so I talk with passion on this. You don't discuss with anybody. You just take the move. If it happens, it happens. If it happens that you're able to escape it, then that's it. But at that point, I want to leave, and I leave.
Okay, so we would go further and look at how these thoughts can be handled. The suicidal thoughts. But Compu Ghana has something exciting for you. Extra special Easter promotion is happening at Compu Ghana nationwide and online beginning April 1. Shop for quality brands like LG, Samsung, Techno, Infinix, HP, Dell, Lenovo, Sony, Bluetech, Sensor, and many more. Visit the Compu Ghana branch this Easter season and enjoy discounts up to 50% off and gifts with purchases. Amazing. There's something for everyone at Compu Ghana. Visit us this Easter to see for yourself or shop online at www.compugana.com. Download our app, Compu Ghana, on Android and iOS and enjoy free delivery in Accra and Tema. You can contact us on 0302 752 020. And you can WhatsApp us as well, 0243 143 143. Compu Ghana, passion for technology. We have more to talk about suicidal thoughts. Would like to find out how you can deal with this, and is it even normal to have these thoughts? We will be back talking about suicidal thoughts. Stay with us.
It's good to share nutritious meals cooked with Fritol, a vitamin A fortified oil. Whatever goodness means to you, Fritol stands with you. Fritol, you deserve a life of goodness. This advert is FDA approved.
Ghana, are you ready to celebrate one of Africa and the world's biggest legends of our time? It's the former captain of the Black Stars, Asamoah Gyan the Baby Jet. Kels Media Group, in collaboration with the Asamoah Gyan Foundation, presents the official launch of Asamoah Gyan's autobiography. This much anticipated book captures the memoirs of Asamoah Gyan and the untold stories of his journey on and off the pitch. A captivating video documentary of the former captain and a public auction of his book will climax the event. Date, Saturday, April 30, 2022. Venue, Kempinski Gold Coast City Hotel, Accra. The time is 6 p.m. This will be preceded by a red carpet and an exhibition which starts at 5 p.m. sharp. Guests of honor, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, President of the Republic of Ghana. The keynote speaker will be Dr. Patrice Motsepe, President of CAF. And this will be under the co-chairmanship of Dr. Osei Kwame Despite and Dr. Ernest Ofori-Sapong. This event is strictly by invitation. For reservations and partnerships, call 0244-484534 and 020-3462-121. It is supported by the Government of Ghana, GFA, Brick World International Services, Caveman Watches, the Ministry of Youth and Sports, NLA, Adonko Bitters, Next Level Energy Drink, Paradise Pack Mineral Water, number 1 Oxford Street Hotel, and GIPC. Media partners, the Multimedia Group, Despite Group, Media General, EIB Network, Angel Broadcasting Network, CTFM, CTTV, Class Media Group, Metro TV, GTV, the Graphic Communications Group, Daily Guide Network, the Publisher, Zion Felix, GH Hyper, and it's the World Asamoah Gyan Day, powered by the Kels Media Group Consult and King Darwin Publishers.
We are who we are, beautifully African.
Whatever we are doing now is going to reflect in the future.
We thank those who came before us, and we pave a path for those who come after. We keep walking.
This advert is FDA approved. Drink responsibly. Not for sale to persons under 18 years of age. Not recommended for pregnant women.
Welcome back to Live Tales on GHOneTV. I am Blessing Bliss Frimpong. You can call me Blessing. We've been talking about suicidal thoughts, quite an important issue and a social conquer in our dispensation. And Doc, we were talking about some of the triggers, and let's look at what exactly can cause suicidal thoughts.
Okay, so health is 4 dimensions. I think I said that: physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So if you look at, usually it's multifactorial. What it means is that multiple things may be happening in the person's life. One becomes the trigger. So this lady, for example, there are multiple things. Now, what is really the trigger is the pregnancy and the fact that she's confused as to what to do. Right? And the guy too is sounding irresponsible about it. You know, so usually physical health issues, anybody who has any chronic illness, the challenges of managing the chronic illness, maybe cancer, hypertension, diabetes, when they are overwhelmed, they can decide to end it. Anybody who is in chronic pain, you know, the pain is so severe that, you know, they just want to die. Again, to anybody with any physical disability, the limitations of that physical disability can be too stressful for the person.
Right.
Then also, there are some genetic risks to most of these mental health issues. So people may have a predisposition to probably depression, anxiety, and those things. And that can, the fact that they have the genetic risk, they may have an increased, risk for suicide than the general population. Some of the mental health issues, so physical, mental, social, and spiritual. Some of the mental health issues has to do with people's cognitive appraisal of events. So when people have cognitive distortions, like I said, you know, if their thinking is very negative, counterproductive, and irrational, you know, and illogical, it overwhelms, you know, it creates a situation which is not there, you know, than what is really the situation. Then anybody going through any pain at all, emotional pain, because they've lost something. So any loss, it may be a relative, a relationship, a job, whatever it is, they can actually want to take their life. Then traumatic events, any traumatic events like rape, witnessing someone shot, post-traumatic stress problems, you know, people who go, especially soldiers who go to war and all that, the flashbacks and all the things, they can decide to end it, you know, when they have that kind of problem. Then also, if you look at some mental illnesses, like I said, depression, anxiety, stress, schizophrenia, bipolar, what do you call it? Alcohol-related, substance-related problems.
Right.
There's some people who may actually commit suicide because they are on alcohol. If it wasn't alcohol, they may not have even had the confidence to do it.
Okay, so can we say that it's not normal to have suicidal thoughts?
It's not. Anything that disturbs your mental state is not normal.
Right. How do we cope with that?
So some of the social issues may be relationship problems, family-related problems, or spousal, whatever problems, even culture and culture-related. Now, social media has become an important risk factor for these things. Social media, people comparing themselves with others, the number of likes makes them feel good, you know, bullying, cyberbullying, and all those things. It's become a big thing. You know, even for children, you can take a child's phone from them and they want to die. You know, because people use some research I think in the UK showed that majority of the young people who are on social media all the time, it's a way of coping with depression. You know, there was a research like that. So social media is a major risk factor. So when it comes to suicidal thoughts, first of all, we need to be able to find out why those suicidal thoughts are there. It starts from there.
Right.
You know, why are those suicidal thoughts there? And when you are able to find out why they are there, then you start the treatment or help from there.
Okay.
Because there may be a consequence to that. There's a reason why the person wants to commit suicide. When you're able to tackle those reasons, realize that the thoughts go down. Let me say this here, that there is a concept we call cognitive narrowing, where your brain ceases to think about any other alternatives apart from death.
Right.
You know, at the point of killing yourself, you know, attempting suicide, your brain is just not thinking. It's gone into a certain state where it just cannot think about any other options apart from suicide.
So at that point, what treatment?
Well, at that point, if you delay the action a bit, you know, you're able to recover.
Okay.
At that point, so if for example the thoughts come very strong and you don't even commit suicide, you give yourself some time, you realize that the suicidal thoughts may start coming down.
Right.
And at that point, what you need also is professional help. You know, where if you maybe chance on someone who may have attempted suicide, even you are having these strong suicidal thoughts, you just have to walk into any hospital, ask to see a mental health professional. Even if you don't have it there, they know what to do. They may keep you in the hospital, you know, observe you, make sure that you're comfortable and fine, arrange for someone else. Because at that point, it's just like someone having a heart attack and telling the person to do something at home. It's difficult. At that point, it's an emergency. They need to be in the hospital. They need to seek help, you know, so that, because we may keep you on the ward, you know, start whatever therapies we need to start. Because it may take a while. And some thoughts can be so loud and so intrusive that you just do not have any control. Some people tell you that, Doctor, I just can't think about anything else apart from killing myself.
I think that is the state in which the girl in the letter is in. You have been into activism for some time now. If such a person approaches you and tells you, this is what I'm going through, what do you do to make sure they don't go back with those thoughts?
All right. So first of all, you need to actually talk to the person. You have to listen and let the person feel what's like she's feeling, that you understand what she's going through. But it can be another way. By one, trying to counsel the person. I normally use my story, because if I was dead, I wouldn't be here talking and then talking about the fact that suicide is not an option. So when I do that, Dr. Newman is always available. So depending on how serious the case is, I'll just give you the number or arrange that you speak to Dr. Newman, because he is a professional and knows how the procedures to go through. I would give you hope because I've been through it and I'm here. I didn't die. It's now a story that I'm using it to actually impact my world. So with that, at least you realize that, hey, are you sure you actually contemplated suicide and even tried taking your life? But now I'm here and I'm also helping you. So it can be your story. All the process that you go through can give you a message to impact your world. So after doing that to actually motivate you and inspire you, I give you to a professional, talk to you, and then he will also take it from there. So I believe that everybody needs to talk to somebody at a point when you're suicidal.
I am wondering, have you ever spoken to somebody who was having suicidal thoughts, and then after that, unfortunately, the person could not hold it but took his or her life?
Well, I've not experienced that because most of the people I speak to, in a way, like recover.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So. But Doc, why do you think that people are unable to open up and say that, just as you said, go to a health facility and let them know I need mental health specialists to speak to? Why do you think it's so difficult for people to do that?
I think that generally we see mental health issues as a personal issue,
right,
and not a health issue requiring some professional help. Nobody walks into the consultant and says, "Doctor, I'm sad, help me." No, because we think it's a personal issue. We don't see that aspect as part of health.
It's like my private life.
Yes, it's my private life. Right. It's my own issue. I can deal with it. You know, a lot of people see me and they wonder, why have I been struggling all these years? I think a lady has claimed that, I should have, for a long time, I wouldn't have been in this state. You know, so I think one of the major problems is the understanding of what mental health issues are, you know, and the fact that people make mental health issues personal issue. And, you know, and so they don't seek help. And I think we've talked about stigma and all those things, you know, but now currently in Ghana, you know, the government has made it such that any hospital you enter, there is someone there who would handle mental health issues. Even if they don't have, they know where to refer you to.
Right.
It's that simple.
Okay, so aside the hospitals and these professionals who are ready to assist us, let's come to our communities, our homes. How do I get to know that this brother of mine or this neighbor of mine is having suicidal thoughts?
There are two things. One, there are a group of them you will never know.
Right.
But they are in the minority.
Okay.
You will never know. You are there, you know, and they are gone. You know, but majority of them, about 4 out of 5 of them, they will actually show you signs. You know, signs here and there. They may write in notes. It may form part of their, what do you call it? Their you know, communication all the time. You know, you may see that they may have withdrawn from social activities. The same person was bubbly and always laughing around, going for meetings here and there. You can't really, you know, find the person. Or anybody who is going through any kind of difficult time is a suspect.
Okay.
Anybody. So you are in your room, you know that, no, this roommate is going through problems. Or a family member has lost a job, or something is happening around them. That alone can be the only sign that the person is likely planning suicide. Usually when people are going through stuff, we ignore them. Even when they reach out to us for help, we actually don't. You know, until something happens, everybody is running around. You know, and also parents would have to start paying attention to their kids. Any child going through any abuse or any neglect, or when the child is always failing the exam. Children, failure of exams and bad performance in school may be a sign of a mental health issues like depression.
Yeah.
You know, and parents will have to pay attention. You know, when your children are talking, just listen to them. You know, when they're expressing a certain concern, listen to them. Because adults may be able to evaluate things well, children may not. And that you may have young people. I think about 2 weeks ago, we were having some intervention for some kids as young as you have people 9, 10, 12, you know, who are contemplating suicide.
Wow.
And one of them made a comment that really was sad. She said that one day the father told her that, she said it in P. Also, when Nimsa Abwebi,
wow,
your face looks like an animal.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, a child. Yeah. You can't say that to a child.
Exactly.
You know, for an adult can dismiss and say,
laugh over it.
You know, but a child, no. So that was so damaging to her. Another lady was saying that the mother told her that I gave birth to you by mistake. You never amount to anything. You know, Can you think about it? And she was 8 years. And up to 21, she's still struggling from that thought. And she wants to die.
Now, talking about children, according to the World Health Organization, suicide was the 4th leading cause of death among 15 years to 29 years globally. Now, why is it that this issue is quite dominant among children or young people?
You know, it's a transition between, if you look at the age group 15 to 29, it's a transition between, you know, typical children. You know, children, the definition may even go up to 19, including adolescents, but the children, you know, between that, the adolescent stage to before adulthood, you know, you have the young adults and all that, you know, so that age group is a transition.
Right. Where
they form their identity, their own independence, their own worldviews. And that is when you realize that most of the challenges are in their formative years. In adolescence, you have to go to secondary school, start some level of independence. You have friends, your hormones are all over the place. You are affected by things. You know, your parents expect some responsibility from you. They are likely to neglect you at that point. If they don't have money, you have to struggle through life. Around that time, your parents may have died. No relative may focus on you. If you're a baby, or you are 9, you know, 6, 7 years, and your father dies, it's likely, what do you call it? A relative may take you in. But in your, you know, in that youthful, young adult stage, nobody really cares. And around that time is when you are thinking about your career, your academics, you're having problems and challenges. That is when relationships and marriage, all those things are around that time. So the stresses of life, you know, is really maximum there. Right. And you also don't have the fortitude and capacity and the resources to deal with them.
Okay.
But if you look at the, you know, middle ages, like in 40s and all that, it is more about existential crisis. When you are confused about your own purpose, you know, and you compare yourself with your mates, you don't have money, where your social status and all that. All those things and failures about your own plans can worsen, you know, situations are around that time. But between 15 and 29, very critical. That is when all your life and all your decisions and stuff are there. And you are not likely to receive the kind of help that you may need from others.
Okay. Yes. Gloria, you work with people, talking to them out of such thoughts. You've met such young people. Why do you think it's dominant among them?
So, the most important thing that I realized is most parents are too busy and they are not listening to their children.
Okay.
Kids go to school, they go through so many things. Teachers doing their own thing, friends calling you names, funny names, and they are not comfortable with it. And then when the child comes home, the parent is not back from work. If you're back from work, it's late, you go straight to bed, your kids, your helps are handling the kids. So sometimes the fact that parents, the absence of parents in the life of a child it becomes something else. Because if a child wants to actually share, it is when you make time, you engage them, make time, go for walk, drive around. I mean, spend time to talk to the child. That is where you will realize that there's a lot of things that the kids wants to tell you. I have 2 kids and they can really ask questions a lot when you engage them.
Okay.
So I believe that parents need to make time. You are making the money, but most importantly, you have to pay attention to the children when you come back from school.
Right. Make time for your children. If you have any concern, we are here to discuss it and find solutions for you. So you can send us a WhatsApp 05048414434. 05048414434. WhatsApp this number and share with us any issue you want us to discuss on live sales on GHOneTV. We'll be right back on here.
Junior, let's play riddle.
Riddle.
What was milky but is now milkier?
Milkier.
And there are even more in the pack. And they're your favorites.
Pack biscuits.
More milkiness in every bite. And more biscuits in every pack. Pack biscuits. peck up your day more. This advert is FDA approved.
It's good to stay strong together. It's good when you get the rest you need because your family has got you. It's good to share nutritious meals cooked with Fritol, a vitamin A fortified oil. Whatever goodness means to you, Fritol stands with you. Fritol, you deserve a life of goodness. This advert is FDA approved.
Hi, my name is Junior and I live in Achimota. The decoder I was using used to give me bad picture quality. HD Plus decoder, I'm a man who said it's all about picture quality. Now that I enjoy 5 times clearer high definition picture quality, I'm a higher debuter.
Hi, my name is Martha. I stay in East Legon and a mother of 2. HD Plus decoder helps me to record upcoming shows even when I'm not at home. My kids can now watch their favorite program on the main TV, whilst I also watch my favorite telenovela on the phone. HD Plus, so I had there. Go for yours.
My name is Nia Adam. I've been a multi-TV installer for about 8 years now. In fact, I've never seen such a quality picture like the one from HD Plus before. As a football fan, I'll never miss World Cup matches from anywhere. Hey, HD Plus, so I had there.
Get an HD Plus decoder today from any multi-TV outlet and all Electroland shops.
Welcome back. This is Live Tales on GHOneTV. I am Blessing, Bliss Frimpong. You can call me Blessing. It's been quite an interesting discussion on suicidal thoughts, the triggers and what can be done. But in 30 seconds, what should this particular girl do? Gloria?
I think she's going through so much and she needs care. So she should talk to someone.
Right.
She should talk to somebody. Because when she speaks to someone, at least there will be some words of hope. And also the person might even consider taking her to see a psychologist. So that the psychologist will also use the professional state to take her through the process. But most of all, I think parents or the guardian should know.
Okay.
So that at that point they can support her with her emotions and show her some love. I think that's all she needs.
Right, Doc?
I think she should just walk into a hospital and speak to a professional, like she's saying. And sometimes those news, you don't have to break it yourself. The professional may have to do it in a way that would help the situation. Because depending on who the guardians are, if she goes ahead and tells them, I'm sure it may be something else. It may worsen her situation. So I think she shouldn't lose hope. She should walk into any hospital, seek professional care. Then the professional will know how to break that news and help them heal.
Okay. So seek professional attention. Go to a hospital. And if you're a mother or a family member or anything, give attention to people who are going through trying times. You might not know the thoughts that are running through their head. Don't forget that suicide is not the solution. The solution is you speaking to somebody to find out what you can do to fight this battle. Gloria Boatima Ando is a suicide prevention activist and the CEO of Winglow Family International. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur is medical doctor and clinical health psychologist. Doc, thank you for joining us. And someone joined us via Zoom. Lawyer Yao Dankwa is a criminal lawyer and lecturer. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Peck and Kompigana, passion for technology. This has been Live Tales on GHOneTV. I am Blessing, Bliss Frimpong, so you can call me Blessing. From us to you, have a good night.
In July 2021, we debuted season 1 of the most anticipated nighttime talk show. 13 episodes that made you cry, laugh, learn and grow. We brought you conversations with witty kids, experienced retirees, physically challenged persons changing the status quo, and celebrated personalities who have overcome challenges to pursue the life of their dreams. The time has come for season 2 of the Natalie Ford Show, and this